The great arena buzzed with excitement as thousands of alien beings filled the stone seats. Their voices created a loud noise that echoed off the tall walls. Commander Lyra Vex stood in the royal box, her forearms crossed as she looked down at the fighting ground below. Her blue skin shined in the bright lights, and her sharp teeth showed when she smiled. The Zephyrian Empire had built this arena to show their power. Only the strongest warriors from across the galaxy could fight here. Today, champions from 12 different worlds would battle. The crowd came to see blood and glory. "Look at them all," Lyra said to her friend Crix, who stood beside her. "Each one thinks they can win against our champions." Crix nodded. His green scales moved as he laughed. "The betting pools are very busy today. Everyone wants to put money on their favorite fighter." The first few fights had been good. A warrior from the ice world of Theta Prime had defeated a fire-breathing lizard from the Outer Rim. The crowd cheered when the ice warrior froze his enemy solid. Then a metal robot from the machine worlds fought against a giant insect. The robot won by tearing off the insect's wings. Lyra enjoyed watching the battles. She was a warrior herself and had fought in many wars for the Empire. She knew good fighting when she saw it. These aliens were strong and fast. They had natural weapons like claws, poison, or thick armor. This is what real warriors looked like. The announcer's voice filled the arena. "Our next fight will be very special," he said. "From the far planet Earth, we have a human warrior." The crowd went quiet for a moment. Then someone started laughing. Soon, everyone was laughing so hard that tears ran down their faces. Even the other fighters waiting their turn began to laugh. Lyra looked down as a door opened in the arena wall. A human male walked out into the sand. He was not very tall. His skin was soft and pink, with no scales or armor. He had no claws, no fangs, and no extra arms or legs. He looked so weak that Lyra almost felt sorry for him. "Is this a joke?" Lyra asked, laughing. "This soft creature is supposed to be a warrior? Lyra?" The human wore simple clothes made of some kind of fabric. He carried a small bag on his back and had a few tools on his belt. He looked around the arena with calm eyes. He did not seem afraid, but he also did not look very dangerous. "Look at him," Crix said, pointing with one of his long fingers. "He has no natural weapons at all. His skin looks like it would tear if you touched it too hard." The announcer continued speaking. "This is Marcus Chen from Earth. His planet only joined our galactic community 5 years ago. Their people are new to space travel." End quote. This made the crowd laugh even harder. Lyra shook her head. Earth was known as one of the weakest planets in the galaxy. Humans had no special powers. They were not very strong or fast. They lived short lives and got sick easily. Most aliens thought humans were only good for simple jobs, like cleaning or carrying things. "Why did they even let him enter?" Lyra asked. "This will not be a fight. It will be a quick death." The other door opened, and the human's opponent walked out. The crowd cheered loudly. This was Thrak the Destroyer, a Korvac warrior from the battle world of Grimm. Thrak stood 3 times taller than the human. His thick scales were black and red. His claws were as long as knives. When he opened his mouth, green acid dripped from his teeth. Thrak had won 47 fights in arenas across the galaxy. He had never lost a battle. His people were born for war. They grew stronger each time they got hurt. Their acid spit could melt through metal. They felt no fear and no pain. The betting numbers appeared on the big screens around the arena. Almost everyone bet on Thrak. The odds were 1,000 to 1 against the human. Some people bet small amounts on the human just for fun, knowing they would lose their money. "I feel bad for that human," one alien in the crowd said. "Thrak will kill him in seconds." Lyra watched as the 2 fighters looked at each other across the sand. Thrak roared and hit his chest with his big fists. The sound was so loud that some people covered their ears. He spit acid on the ground, and the sand melted into glass. But the human just stood there. He was not shaking with fear. He was not running away or begging for mercy. He looked at Thrak like he was studying him. His face was calm, almost peaceful. "What is wrong with him?" Lyra asked. "Does he not understand what is about to happen?" The announcer raised his hand. "Warriors, prepare for battle!" The crowd became quiet. Everyone wanted to see the human get crushed. Lyra leaned forward to get a better look. She wanted to see how quickly this would end. Maybe the human would last 10 seconds if he was lucky. She almost felt guilty for enjoying this so much. The human reached into his small bag and pulled out what looked like pieces of white cloth. He wrapped them around his hands very carefully. Then he did some strange movements, stretching his arms and legs. It looked like some kind of ritual. Thrak watched this with confusion. He had never seen anything like it. Most fighters roared or showed their weapons before a battle. This human was acting like he was getting ready for exercise. The announcer dropped his hand. "Begin." The crowd held its breath, waiting to see the human die. Thrak charged forward like a massive train. His feet made the ground shake with each step. His claws were ready to tear the human apart. The crowd expected to see blood spray across the sand in the next second. But something strange happened. The human moved to the side at the last moment. Thrak's claws hit nothing but air. The big warrior crashed into the arena wall behind where the human had been standing. Pieces of stone fell from the wall. "Lucky move," Lyra said, but her voice sounded less sure than before. "He cannot dodge forever." Thrak turned around quickly. His red eyes were angry. He spit a stream of green acid at the human. The acid was so strong, it could burn through spaceship metal. But again, the human was not there when the acid arrived. He had moved away, just in time. The acid hit the sand and made a hissing sound. Smoke rose up from the melted ground. The smell was terrible, like burning plastic mixed with rotten eggs. Some people in the crowd covered their noses. Marcus stood about 10 feet away from Thrak. He was watching the big warrior very carefully. His eyes followed every move Thrak made. He looked like he was learning something important. "Why is he just running away?" Crix asked. "All humans are cowards. They never fight back." Thrak attacked again, this time swinging his huge fists. Each punch could break rocks, but they only hit empty air. The human moved like water, flowing around the attacks. He was not very fast, but he seemed to know where Thrak would strike before Thrak did it. The crowd started to get restless. They came here to see a fight, not to watch someone run around. Some aliens began to boo and throw things into the arena. "Fight, you coward!" someone shouted. But Lyra noticed something that others missed. The human was not really running away. He was moving in a pattern. Each time he dodged, he ended up in a slightly different position. He was studying how Thrak moved and reacted. Thrak was getting frustrated. He had never fought someone who moved like this before. Most warriors either stood and fought with strength, or they were fast enough to stay far away. This human was doing something else entirely. The big warrior tried a new approach. He rushed at Marcus and swung both arms at the same time, trying to catch him no matter which way he moved. But Marcus dropped down low and rolled between Thrak's legs. He came up behind the warrior before Thrak could turn around. For a moment, Lyra thought the human might attack Thrak from behind. But Marcus just stepped away again. He had plenty of time to strike, but he chose not to. This confused everyone watching. "What is he doing?" Lyra asked herself. He had a chance to attack. And Thrak spun around and tried to grab Marcus with his long arms. The human bent backward in a way that looked impossible. Thrak's claws missed his face by inches. Marcus straightened up and was calm as before. Now something else was happening. Thrak was breathing harder than he should be. The big warrior had been fighting for only a few minutes, but all his wild attacks were making him tired. Swinging those massive arms and chasing the human around the arena was using up his energy. Marcus, on the other hand, looked like he could do this all day. His breathing was slow and steady. His movements were smooth and controlled. While Thrak was getting more and more angry, Marcus stayed calm. "How is he not tired?" Crix asked. "Humans are supposed to be weak." Lyra did not answer. She was watching something that made her uncomfortable. The human's eyes never left Thrak's face. He was reading the big warrior like a book. Every time Thrak prepared to attack, the human's body tensed up just a little bit before the attack came. Thrak tried spitting acid again, but this time he aimed where he thought Marcus would move. It was a smart plan that had worked against other enemies. But Marcus moved in a completely different direction than expected. The acid missed by a lot. The human had predicted that Thrak would try to predict his movement. He was thinking several steps ahead. "This is impossible," Lyra whispered. "He is making Thrak look stupid." The crowd was getting nervous now. Their champion was supposed to win easily. But Thrak was covered in sweat and breathing hard, while the human looked fresh and ready to keep going. Marcus began to change his strategy. Instead of just dodging, he started to make Thrak work even harder. He would move just close enough to make Thrak think he could catch him, then slip away at the last second. This made Thrak use even more energy with each failed attack. The human picked up a handful of sand and threw it at Thrak's eyes. It was a simple trick, but Thrak had not expected it. The big warrior roared and wiped at his face, giving Marcus time to move to a better position. "He is using the arena itself as a weapon," Lyra said with surprise. She was beginning to understand that this human was not just lucky. He was planning every move. Thrak's attacks were getting slower and less accurate. His acid spit was running out because he had used too much, too quickly. His powerful regeneration was working, but it was also using up his body's energy reserves. Marcus had turned the Korvac's greatest strengths against him. His size made him slow. His aggression made him waste energy. His acid attacks were limited, and the human had made him use them up on nothing. For the first time in his life, Thrak looked worried. He had never fought an enemy who did not try to match his strength with strength. This human was using a completely different kind of warfare. The crowd had stopped laughing. They watched in silence as their unbeatable champion began to struggle against a soft-skinned human from a weak planet. Lyra felt something cold in her stomach. She had been wrong about this human. Very wrong. Marcus finally stopped moving away from Thrak's attacks. Instead, he began to circle the big warrior like a hunter studying wounded prey. His calm eyes watched every breath Thrak took, every drop of sweat that fell from the warrior's scales. Thrak tried to charge again, but his legs were heavy now. The human easily stepped aside, and this time he did something that shocked everyone. He reached out and touched Thrak's arm as the warrior stumbled past. It was not an attack. It was like a doctor checking a patient. Marcus was testing how tired Thrak had become. "What kind of fighting style is this?" Lyra asked. She had studied warfare from hundreds of worlds, but she had never seen anything like what the human was doing. Marcus pulled a small water bottle from his belt and took a drink. He was not even breathing hard. Meanwhile, Thrak was gasping for air like he had been running for hours. The big warrior's regeneration had been working overtime to heal the small cuts from his own wild movements, and it was draining him. The human capped his water bottle and put it away. Then he spoke for the first time since the fight began. "You are very strong," Marcus said in a calm voice. "But you fight like you are trying to kill your enemy quickly. That works against most opponents." Thrak snarled and tried to swipe at him with tired claws. Marcus stepped back just enough to avoid the attack. "The problem is," Marcus continued, "I am not most opponents. My people learned to hunt animals that were bigger, stronger, and faster than us. We learned that time is our weapon. The human began to move differently now. Instead of just avoiding Thrak's attacks, he started to guide them. When Thrak swung his right arm, Marcus moved in a way that made Thrak spin further than he wanted to. When the warrior tried to spit acid, Marcus positioned himself so Thrak had to twist his neck in an uncomfortable way. Lyra realized what was happening. The human was not just wearing Thrak down. He was forcing the big warrior to hurt himself with his own movements. "He is using Thrak's strength against him," she whispered. "Every attack Thrak makes is helping the human win." The crowd was completely silent now. They were watching something they had never seen before. A weak creature was defeating a strong one, not through power, but through understanding. Marcus reached into his small bag again. This time he pulled out what looked like a piece of rope. But when he held it up, Lyra could see it was made of some kind of strong material that reflected the arena lights. Thrak saw the rope and laughed, though his laugh sounded tired. "What will you do with that tiny string, human? Tie my shoelaces?" Marcus smiled for the first time during the fight. Something like that. The human began to move faster now, but not in the way other fast fighters moved. He moved like he was dancing to music only he could hear. Every step was planned. Every movement had a purpose. Thrak lunged forward with his last burst of energy. His claws reached for the human's throat. But Marcus dropped low and rolled forward, right between the warrior's legs. As he came up behind Thrak, the rope in his hands moved like a living snake. Before Thrak could turn around, the rope was wrapped around his ankles. The big warrior tried to step forward and crashed to the ground face first. The arena shook when his massive body hit the sand. Thrak tried to get up, but his tired muscles would not work properly. The rope was not just holding his legs together. It was positioned in a way that made it impossible for him to get enough leverage to stand. The human had studied exactly how Thrak's body moved and had trapped him using his own weight and size against him. "Impossible," Crix breathed. "A piece of rope defeated the destroyer?" But Marcus was not done. He walked around to face Thrak, staying just out of reach of the warrior's claws. The human's face was serious now, almost sad. "Your people are born warriors," Marcus said. "You are strong and brave. But you fight like every battle must end quickly. My people learned to fight differently." Marcus knelt down in the sand, but kept his distance from Thrak's hands. "We learned to hunt mammoth beasts that could crush us with one step. We learned to chase them for days across frozen lands until they collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to turn their own strength into our advantage." Thrak tried one more time to break free, but he had no energy left. His regeneration had stopped working because his body had nothing left to regenerate with. "We learned," Marcus continued, "that the strongest opponent becomes the weakest when they cannot use their strength properly. We learned to make time our ally instead of our enemy." The human stood up and looked around the arena. His eyes found Lyra in the royal box. For a moment, their gazes met, and Lyra felt something she had never felt before. She felt like prey being watched by a predator. Marcus turned back to Thrak. "Do you yield?" The big warrior tried to speak, but only gasps came out. Finally, he managed to nod his head. The human reached down and untied the rope around Thrak's ankles. He helped the exhausted warrior sit up and offered him water from his bottle. "You fought with honor," Marcus said. "Your strength is real, but strength without wisdom is just noise." The arena was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They had just watched a small, soft human defeat one of the most feared warriors in the galaxy using nothing but patience, intelligence, and a piece of rope. Lyra felt her hands shaking. She had been wrong about humans. Very, very wrong. This was not just about one human warrior. This was about an entire species that thought differently about fighting and war. A species that could defeat stronger enemies not through power, but through understanding. What else had the galaxy been wrong about regarding these seemingly weak creatures from Earth? The silence in the arena was broken by a sound that made every creature's blood turn cold. It started as a low hum that seemed to come from the air itself. Then it grew into a deep musical tone that touched something ancient in every alien's mind. Lyra's forearms began to shake. She knew that sound. Every Zephyrian knew that sound from birth. It was the song of royal presence, something that had not been heard in the arena for over 300 years. "The Queen," Crix whispered, his green scales turning pale. "Queen Zarathus is coming here." All around the arena, every alien being dropped to their knees instantly. It was not a choice. The song commanded respect from all creatures who served the Zephyrian Empire. Even the strongest warriors could not resist its power. Lyra pressed her face against the cold stone floor of the royal box. She could not look up, even though she desperately wanted to see what was happening. The song grew louder, and with it came a feeling of overwhelming power that made her feel tiny and weak. In the arena below, Marcus Chen remained standing. The other fighters who had been waiting for their turns were all on their faces in the sand. Thrak, despite his exhaustion, had managed to get on his knees, with his head down. Every guard, every servant, every noble in the entire arena was bowing. But the human stood calmly in the center of the fighting ground, looking up at the royal box where a brilliant light was beginning to form. The light grew brighter and brighter until it hurt to look at, even through closed eyes. Then, slowly, the light took shape. Queen Zarathus materialized like a goddess descending from the stars. She was beautiful in a way that was almost painful to witness. Her skin was silver and seemed to glow from within. Her 6 arms moved like flowing water. Her eyes were deep purple and held the wisdom of 1,000 years of rule. She wore robes that looked like they were made from liquid starlight. But what shocked Lyra most was that the queen was not looking at her subjects who were bowing before her. She was not enjoying the display of respect and fear. Instead, she was looking directly at the human in the arena, and her ancient face showed something that Lyra had never seen before. Respect. Queen Zarathus floated down from the royal box like a falling star. Her feet touched the sand of the arena without making a sound. Still, none of her subjects dared to look up. The power radiating from her was so strong that even breathing felt difficult. But Marcus Chen walked toward her. The human moved with the same calm confidence he had shown during the fight. He was not afraid of the most powerful being in this part of the galaxy. He walked like he was going to meet an old friend. "Det Warden," the queen said, and her voice carried clearly across the silent arena. She spoke in the old tongue, the ancient language that only the royal family and the highest priests knew. "You have revealed yourself." Lyra's mind went blank with shock. The Det Warden was a figure from the oldest Zephyrian prophecies. A being who would appear when the Empire owed a debt too great to be measured. Someone whose service to the Empire could never be repaid. But that was just a myth. A story told to children. It could not be real. Marcus answered in the same ancient language, his pronunciation perfect. "The time for hiding has ended, Your Majesty. The darkness stirs again, and your people must know the truth." The queen nodded slowly. Her purple eyes showed sadness mixed with gratitude. "How long has it been since we last spoke?" she asked. 63 years, Marcus replied. "When we stopped the Void Plague from reaching Zephyria Prime." Lyra's heart stopped beating for a moment. The Void Plague had been the worst disaster in Zephyrian history. It was a disease that ate life itself, turning entire planets into dead rocks. The plague had swept through 7 star systems before mysteriously stopping just before it reached their homeworld. The official history said that Zephyrian scientists had found a cure. But the queen was saying that this human had been involved in stopping it. "Your people paid the price in blood," the queen said, her voice heavy with old pain. "Thousands of your warriors died in the void between stars, so that billions of mine could live." Marcus nodded. "They died with honor, as humans always have, as they always will." Node. The queen raised her hands, and when she spoke again, her voice carried to every corner of the arena. She switched to the common galactic language so that all could understand. Rise, my subjects. Rise and witness truth. Slowly, carefully, the aliens in the arena lifted their heads. Lyra managed to look up and saw something that would change her understanding of the galaxy forever. Queen Zarathis, the ruler of the most powerful empire in known space, was bowing to the human. For too long, the queen announced, we have allowed a lie to spread across the stars. Humans are not weak. They are not newcomers to our galactic community. They have been its silent guardians since before most of our civilizations reached for the stars. Gasps and confused whispers filled the arena. Lyra felt like the ground was shifting beneath her. This man represents a species that has bled and died in the darkness so that the rest of us could live in the light. The queen continued. While we built our cities and celebrated our victories, they fought horrors we cannot imagine. Marcus stood quietly, letting the queen speak. His face showed neither pride nor shame. He looked like a soldier receiving orders. The debt we owe to humanity cannot be measured in gold or territory, the queen said. It can only be measured in the countless lives they have saved, the civilizations they have preserved, and the nightmares they have faced alone. She turned to face the crowd, her purple eyes blazing with authority. Every Zephyrian alive today owes their existence to human sacrifice. Every breath you take was purchased with human blood spilled in battles you will never hear about. Arding. Arding. Arding blood. Arding blood. The queen's voice grew stronger, carrying the weight of absolute command. From this day forward, any being who mocks humanity mocks the saviors of us all. Any who would harm a human harms those who have given everything for our protection. She looked back at Marcus, and her voice became soft again. The signs are clear, Det Warden. The ancient enemy moves again. How much time do we have? Something. 1 hour. The signs are clear. Det Warden. Marcus's calm face finally showed emotion. For just a moment, Lyra saw something that chilled her to the bone. Fear. Not long, Your Majesty, Marcus said quietly. We are preparing, but this time will be different. This time, we cannot fight alone. Queen Zarathis raised her 6 arms toward the star-filled sky above the arena. Her voice became deeper, carrying the power of absolute truth that no being could deny or forget. Listen well, children of the galaxy, she commanded. The time for secrets has ended. You will learn why humans deserve not your laughter, but your eternal gratitude. The air in the arena shimmered, and suddenly images appeared above them, like giant pictures made of light. The first image showed space, dark and empty, with stars scattered like tiny jewels. 3,000 years ago, the queen began. When your ancestors were still learning to make fire, something terrible came from the space between galaxies. We call it the hunger that devours stars. The image changed to show something that made Lyra's mind struggle to understand what she was seeing. It was like looking at a hole in reality itself, a darkness that seemed to eat the light around it. Where it touched, stars went out forever. It consumed 17 galaxies before it reached ours. The queen continued. Every living thing it touched was eaten, not just killed. The hunger turns life into nothing, as if it never existed at all. The crowd watched in terrified silence as the images showed entire star systems going dark, one by one. Every advanced civilization in our galaxy tried to fight it. The queen said. The Korvac Empire sent their greatest warriors. The Crystal Mines used their most powerful technology. The gas giants of Nebula, 7, combined their psychic powers. New images showed massive space battles, weapons that could destroy planets, and creatures with powers beyond imagination. But in every scene, the hunger simply swallowed them all. They all failed, the queen said sadly. The hunger cannot be fought with strength or technology, or mental powers. It feeds on those things. The stronger you are, the more it grows when it consumes you. Marcus stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but clear enough for everyone to hear. But humans were different, he said. We had just learned to leave our planet. We had no great weapons or powers. We were weak and small and scared. The images changed to show Earth as it was long ago, with primitive spaceships that looked like toys compared to the great vessels of other races. When the hunger reached our part of the galaxy, Marcus continued, all the great civilizations were gone. Only a few worlds were left, and most of those were dying. Earth was supposed to be consumed in days. Lyra watched as the images showed the terrible darkness approaching Earth's solar system. She found herself holding her breath, even though she knew the outcome. But my ancestors discovered something, Marcus said. The hunger could not eat what it could not understand, and it could not understand sacrifice. The Queen nodded. Explain to them what your people learned, Det Warden. Marcus looked around the arena, meeting the eyes of aliens who had laughed at him just hours before. The hunger eats strength and power and intelligence, he said. But it cannot eat love. It cannot eat the choice to die for others. When a human willingly gives their life to save someone else, the hunger cannot consume that sacrifice. The images showed something beautiful and terrible. Human ships, tiny compared to the vast darkness, flying directly into the hunger. But instead of being consumed, they created small lights that the darkness could not touch. Every human who died protecting others created a barrier that the hunger could not cross, Marcus explained. We learned that the only way to fight it was to build walls made of willing sacrifice. The Queen's voice was filled with ancient sadness. For 3,000 years, humans have died alone, in the dark spaces between stars. They have given their lives to maintain the barriers that keep the hunger away from inhabited worlds. Lyra felt tears running down her face. She thought about all the times she had heard humans called weak or stupid. All the times other aliens had made jokes about Earth's primitive technology or short lifespans. The increase in human military activity that you have all noticed, the Queen continued, is not because they plan to attack anyone. It is because the barriers are weakening. After 3,000 years, the sacrifices of the dead are fading, and new ones must be made. Marcus's face was grim. The hunger is stirring again. Our sensors have detected movement in the dark space where we trapped it. We have perhaps 50 years before the barriers fail completely. End quote. The Queen turned to address the entire arena. This is why I have revealed the truth today. The final battle is coming. And this time, humanity cannot fight alone. The hunger has grown stronger by feeding on the civilizations it consumed. Even an endless supply of human sacrifice may not be enough. She raised her hands again, and her voice became the voice of absolute command. From this moment, every world in the Zephyrian Empire will provide whatever aid humanity requests. Every ship, every weapon, every warrior will be placed at their disposal. The Queen looked directly at Lyra in the royal box. Commander Lyra Vex, you will serve as my personal representative to the Human Military Command. You will ensure that our forces integrate with theirs. Lyra felt her heart skip. She was being given the greatest honor of her military career, and also the most terrifying responsibility. But first, the Queen said, turning back to Marcus, there is a debt that must be acknowledged before all witnesses. She gestured to the arena around them. Every alien being present dropped to their knees again, but this time it was not from compulsion. It was from choice. Kneel before him, the Queen commanded, though her subjects were already bowing. They have faced the darkness so that we could live in the stars. The Queen herself knelt in the sand before Marcus Chen, the humble human warrior who carried the weight of galactic survival on his shoulders. Thank you, she said, and her words carried across space itself, a message to every human who had ever died. protecting strangers who would never know their names. Marcus helped the queen to her feet. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with the burden his people had carried for so long. "The honor is ours to serve," he said. "But pray to whatever gods you believe in, that when the final battle comes, it will be enough." Lyra looked around the arena at the faces of beings from dozens of worlds. All of them had come here expecting entertainment. Instead, they had learned that their entire existence depended on the courage of a species they had considered weak. The human who stood in the center of the arena was not just a warrior. He was the representative of humanity's greatest secret and greatest sacrifice. He was the face of 3,000 years of unsung heroism. And soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn whether that heroism would be enough to save them all from the hunger that devours stars. The age of human secrecy was over. The age of the final battle was about to begin.